over the weekend confirmed as well, league fans, that Michael Maguire is no longer going to be coach of the Kiwis. He's just taken up the Blues Origin job. So why has it been so impossible for him to do both, considering that, as I said to start the show, he did coach West Tigers and did this before coaching the Kiwis and then did both jobs. We've had it in the past. Was it Daniel Anderson, I think, coached both? Did he coach the Warriors and the
Kiwis, yeah.
And the Kiwis, yeah. Greg Peters, NZRL CEO, joins us to talk about it. 124. Greg, essentially, why couldn't Maguire do both jobs?
Well, at the end of the day, we asked him to make a choice between those two roles, and he chose New South Wales route. We want the Kiwis and international football to be the top of the pecking order, and for someone who has a kind of 100% focus on that role, not with half an eye on a team in Australia that many people put above the Kangaroos. So it's a positioning of where State of Origin sits in the pecking order of football, I guess, and in our view, we want the Kiwis and international football to be right at the top, not an also thought.
So does that effectively mean that he's chosen Origin over the Kiwis because he could only choose one?
That's been his decision, yeah. So he in some ways you have to respect that. I mean, he's a professional coach. Coaching is a complex environment where a guy of his calibre is always going to get offers. So he's made a choice that he thinks is the best for him going forward, which is very sad for us because we absolutely wanted him to stay with the Kiwis. There's no doubt about that. And we wanted him to take us through to 2026 World Cup.
So was there any possible way that he could have done both jobs?
He thought there was, but in our view, there's a number of complications. So people might just think that we play 3 test matches at the end of the year and that's it. So there's a short window. But the Kiwis coach role is as much about interacting with the player group throughout the year, being able to talk to young and up-and-coming players, and it's a 12-month gig. So it's something that you have to be 100% focused on, in our view, in terms of at that level, and not being distracted by perhaps, one instance, if I could use an example, you could be sitting in the Roosters changing head, talking to James Tedesco about State of Origin and Australian aspirations, and then you're turning around next breath talking to Joey Manu about the Kiwis. It just doesn't sort of fit comfortably. And there are other complications. For example, the only window that we can ever get access to our Kiwis players during club season in a group is the same time as the State of Origin camps are on in early February.
What about this letter from past players, or what's been described as a powerful bunch of Kiwi old boys? How much influence did that have?
I haven't received a letter, so I'm not sure where that's come from. We've spoken to a number of old boys through this process, but the bigger weight we put on was the current player group, the opinion of the current player group. And that is, we've engaged on several occasions with the leaders and more recently a wider group. And to a man, they have said he can't do both jobs, and that's pretty powerful in itself. And we have a group of players now who are leading that environment in a way that we haven't seen before, and we need to respect their views. And also, we've got the strength to go forward, sadly, without Michael, but he's set up, and the group itself has set up a really good platform for the future.
This is Greg Peters, NZRL CEO, with us. And we're talking about Madge Maguire, who now won't be coaching the Kiwis, and his track record was pretty good. I want to get back onto that in a second. So, were all the current players canvassed for their opinions?
Not everyone, because that's not possible often. But we've spoken to the leadership group, and we've spoken to the captain a couple of times, and also slightly expanded group of players as well. Once the decision broke, and to a man, they've been supportive.
Was there any discussion at all between you and the ARL, who control Origin? Did you have talks at that level?
We only spoke to New South Wales prior to the Pacific Championships when the news first broke, and agreed collectively to respect the fact that Michael was busy with international football and the focus should go on that until such time as the Pacific Championships were concluded.
Okay, I'm just on a site at the moment. Look, the Herald Sun reporting it, the Daily Telegraph reporting it, the Australian reporting it, and I'll read you a couple of sentences. In a dramatic about-face, the New Zealand Rugby League has delivered a stunning us-or-them ultimatum to Michael Maguire. Was it an ultimatum then?
Well, firstly, it wasn't a stunning about-face because people were making assumptions that a decision had been made or conversation had been had at that level, and that was prior to Michael meeting with the board. No, there was no ultimatum as such. We said to Michael, well, here's our view, and here's our collective view of the board, the management team that worked closely with Michael, the current player group, and some former players. Here's the collective view. We think you need to consider that in your decision, and he did, and made a decision to go in a different route.
Did he try and fight the tide and say, look, I can do both jobs, and I want to do both jobs? Did he do that right till the end?
Absolutely, and credit to him. That's people are entitled to different opinions, and he is a professional coach and wants to coach, have as many opportunities to ply his trade. But in our view, we need someone who is 100% in their mind focused on the Kiwis, not on something else. Not on something else that has a status, as I said earlier, that is many people would, unfortunately, in Australia particularly, put above international football. And we're trying to change that perception, and the mana in the Kiwis jersey is sacrosanct and very important to us going forward.
A couple of other headlines then. Michael Maguire has quit as head coach of the Kiwis after the New Zealand Rugby League board bowed to pressure from a powerful collection of past players. The New Zealand Rugby League under increasing pressure by a section of powerful Kiwi old boys. So who are these players? Who is this lobby group, these old dudes?
Well, not true, first of all. So bowing to pressure is certainly not true. Factoring in people's opinions is true, but there has been one particular vocal person who might claim to have more sway than others. But that's the truth of the matter is that we spoke to several former players as part of this process. But in terms of a letter being delivered or a powerful lobby or the old boys calling the shots, no.
We've had Monty on the show, and he said as a selector he didn't want him to do both jobs. Did you consult with all of the selectors about this?
The selectorial group was spoken to individually, and Monty, obviously, if he's come out and said that I know his view as well.
So the process now then to choose a replacement, how does that unfold?
So we will discuss that with the board. It's not predetermined in any way. We will have a thorough and comprehensive process to cast the net as wide as we can and see what we can flush out or who we can flush out through that process. We don't, unfortunately, because we don't play until next October, there's not a huge rush on this, so we won't be rushed. We'll make the right decision in the time, and I would anticipate that, we'd like to see something settled in Q1 next year.
Who makes the decision in the end, Greg? And again, do the same voices that are in the background have any say or sway on that decision?
So there'll be a appointments committee. We have a high performance committee of the board, and there'll be outside external input into that committee as well, as is normal process for coaching appointments of this status. We will factor in current player group opinion and coaching records. That will be and the independent externals that we'll use will be the sum total of the input at that stage.
And finally, is it better to have a Kiwi coach from here on in? Is that your priority?
The priority currently is to have the best coach, and that should, I think, always be the first and foremost aim. But at the end of the day, yes, we'd love to have a Kiwi coach come through, no doubt about it. And that was actually one of the things that when Michael was appointed, and even more recently, we wanted to see more Kiwis in that setup to provide the opportunity for them to showcase their talents and be ready to take the step up. The challenge with it is you also need coaches who have coached at the highest level. So that's as high as you can go, and that's the challenge, because we're not inundated with Kiwis throughout the NRL, for example, that have got head coach positions.
Finally, would you consider Andrew Webster? Could he do both jobs?
Well, yeah, who would know? I mean, if Andrew was to put his hand up, I'm sure we would look at him as a potential candidate. But I suspect he might be focused on the Warriors.
Devlin.
Oh, how does he do that? How does he do that?
The Platform.